Okay, this is one with my thoughts on Ann Coulter. I think she's this raving hate monger that's making a lot of money through her hateful statements and her her blurring of sarcasm and truth. And boy, what a tough teenager she would have been. Holy crap, huh? So she's definitely for her own intellectual pleasure. She loves to disagree and to say something that's shocking. So, and she's dangerous in the sense that if people actually believe what she says and believe it's funny, or she says something about the Jews or something about shocking about Hitler or something shocking about liberals or something, it's just like here she goes again. So anyway, it's kind of fun to search for YouTube stuff where Ann Coulter has to eat her own words, and this is just one of them here.
After George W. Bush was greeted by anti-war protesters in Ottawa, conservative pundit Ann Coulter went on Fox to pronounce this about ungrateful Canadians.
They need us. They better hope the United States doesn't roll over one night and crush them.
Explain
why
you said that way.
Discussing the anti-war protesters. Canada used to be one of our most loyal friends, and vice versa. I mean, Canada sent troops to Vietnam. Was Vietnam less containable and more of a threat
Actually,
than
Canada
Saddam
did not
Hussein?
send troops to Vietnam.
I don't think that's right.
Canada did not send troops to Vietnam.
Indochina?
No. Canada, Second World War, of course. Korea, yes.
I think
Vietnam,
you're wrong.
no, it took a pass on Vietnam.
I think you're wrong.
No, Australia was there, not Canada.
I think Canada sent troops. Well, I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Coulter never got back to us. But for the record, like Iraq, Canada sent no troops to Vietnam.
So these are the kinds of facts that she spews about too, that just throwing them out there, and you've got to wonder her books how full of these kinds of things, that just ridiculous stuff with these claims, these exaggerations, where she could just say, "Oh, I was just kidding," just like your teenagers say, "Oh, I'm just kidding. I didn't mean to call you an asshole. I'm just kidding." Okay, just don't get so excited about it. So here's just some of the reviews of one of her books. Is called Slander, which is ironic, isn't it? That's an ironic title, isn't it? For her to write a book about slander. A couple of people that were most critical of it. These are just some random reviews. One reviewer says, "I will say that some of the observations Coulter provided are all right, but much of what this book has to say is inaccurate. For starters, the very claim in the book is about how liberals treat Tom DeLay. She complains that the New York Times compared him to the Crusaders and the witch hunters. However, when one looks up the Maureen Dowd column that she cites, they find that though she started off criticizing DeLay, the quote about religion is not about DeLay, but Al Gore. Secondly, it was not a comparison to the Crusaders and the witch hunters, but noting that religion and politics has resulted in such." Again, then he goes through several points of fact that where she said something and it was actually something different. So she's just spewing this stuff out. And then she can just say, "Well, I was just kind of kidding. I was kind of joking about that. Sorry." In the very first sentence of the book, Coulter states that political debate has become insufferable and that it's all liberals' fault. Then she spends the rest of the book with her usual ranting, which is, well, insufferable. She raises some issues that are worthy of discussion and debate, but instead of doing any actual debating or discussing, she resorts to extreme generalizations and ranting. In short, she behaves exactly the way she accuses liberals of doing. The book is not about liberal lies about the American right, as the title would lead you to believe. It's just a long rant where Coulter builds a straw man of evil liberals and does not argue against them unless you count ad hominem arguments, which makes up about 99% of the book. She just rants and rants and rants about how stupid liberals are because some certain liberal said or did something she thought was stupid. a person at work that kind of reminds me of Ann Coulter, and I'm scared to get in any conversations with her because she wants, we were talking about the building a good work atmosphere at where I work, and she stated, this person blurted out that she doesn't believe in mental illness. Very similar to Coulter. It's just their own damn fault if they're depressed. Got to cheer up. That's the kind of stuff that she believes. It's quite tragic that Coulter's books seem to be some of the best-selling books these days. It's the shock jock syndrome. Howard Stern. No, but everybody thinks she's silly, but she's living in her own ego world apparently. She says liberals hate America. One person refutes that, says, no, America's my home. I grew up here. I plan to keep living here. I don't have a flag sticker on my car. Yes, I'm not exactly pro-military and would rather support our troops by bringing them home to their families. Yes, I'm wary of bipartisan politics, but so what? Tons of Americans come from different walks of life. Every citizen of every country has a right to say what they like and dislike about their homeland. I would simply like to see this country mature. Another thing that Ann Coulter apparently said, liberals hate all religions except Islam. Well, no, that's not right. I will admit I myself an agnostic. There are a large majority of liberals who are more secular and humanist in their thinking, but this does not dictate that all liberals have to be atheist. And she'll just throw these things out. Oh, atheists, all liberals are atheists. She'll just throw this stuff out to get people to nod their heads and go, yep, she sounds pretty good to me. Secular skeptics like myself dislike monotheistic religions and their involvement in government. And Islam is absolutely no exception to this. Islam's religious stranglehold is the polar opposite of what liberals value. Another thing she says, Democrats actually hate working class people. I know my review reads kid, but I'm actually a New England fisherman. Doesn't get much more working class than that. Liberals hate society is another thing she says. That doesn't make sense. Ann and her homies seem to be the ones constantly whining about gays, minorities, and people who don't fit their supposed demographic of what is a true American. Isn't that interesting? She secretly hates America, I think. I think she probably does. Even Islamic terrorists don't hate America like liberals do. That's why you see us blowing ourselves up in public areas and murdering innocent people in the name of an imaginary God. That's sarcasm. What's the whole point of being liberal? To feel superior to people with less money. Again, it's just a Maine fisherman with an AA from a community college. I don't have much money, but being liberal actually makes me feel superior to people with less intelligence and more hatred. Isn't that great? That's a great line. So, from a fisherman in New England. She's not well liked by fishermen in New England. It's very, very funny. Reading this book was a bit like watching the Jerry Springer Show. No offense to Jerry Springer. Ann Coulter should hope for a musical based on her life. As a conservative, I feel like a follower of Islam on September 11th. Can't relate to the hate or the rage. She has issues. Major issues, I think. That's pretty obvious. I used to wonder how someone who spouts such bigoted trash as does Ann Coulter could ever be considered an intellectual. She's a pretend intellectual. It has since become clear to me that it does indeed take a very devious and deviant kind of intellectual to dumb down with such unerring consistency all this vile and bigoted cliched trash to where it can be swallowed hook, line, and sinker without eliciting so much as a gag reflex by so many millions of uneducated people, incapable of formulating their own opinions. See, she preys on these people that aren't good reasoners. This just makes her very... I mean, the emperor has no clothes. This is a very, very mean woman. Very, very troubled and mean. Millions of gullible and simple minds in lockstep, gobbling up fast food for the mind, dancing to the strings of masters, playing them like millions of marionettes, does not bode well for the future of democracy in this country. So, again, Thomas Jefferson would see somebody like Coulter and go, oh my God, what kind of monsters have we been creating here? What kind of monster is this? He would be just totally shocked. Any one of our founding fathers would be totally shocked at what's going on today. Coulter uses broad generalizations to paint a picture of liberals that is laughable. Liberals hate America. Liberals hate the flag. Liberals hate Christ. Liberals make coats out of Dalmatian puppies. Blah, blah, blah. What is a liberal, you might ask? Well, pretty much anyone who disagrees with Ann Coulter. Now figuring out what Coulter actually believes may be a bit of a challenge. I'm not sure what she really wants because she seems to be opposed to things but isn't in favor of much other than being the current administration's lapdog. Coulter projects to liberals the things that deep down sees in herself in the book. This book is an interesting psychological study about a narcissistic personality disorder because Coulter is a classic case. Amazing that she has been able to make a living off her own imbecility. So there are pages and pages of this. I wonder when Coulter reads this, if she's just has to just block it out somehow. It's like this is not real. The only real thing is me. Any of these criticisms are just I'm just going to deflect them. They don't make any sense. That's the way she must be thinking. A couple more here. Coulter is a very interesting person. She has written a book based on her opinions and passes them off as truth. This book is very painful to read because the reader is trying to understand politics from a woman who did not see the message or truth in Bowling for Columbine. She instead refers to Michael Moore not as a filmmaker or author, but as a college dropout Michael Moore. This is how she refers to him and many other people in her novel. She has no respect for others and cannot even think abstractly, which is sad considering her education and current employment. She needs to stop this kind of hatred and realize that ignorance will turn off any curious reader with a brain. So the only people she's appealing to are the head nodders anyway. Worse than a female Rush Limbaugh, more vicious than a cornered rat, not powerful at all. Ms. Coulter seems to be a little more than a bandwagon jumper who will find shortly the bandwagon now is horseless. The premise of the book got my attention and got me to read it. However, lest there be any confusion, the title of the book is not reflective of the contents, which are little more than the collective ramblings of a pre-modern manic depressive. There is some clarity to her thought process in stark contrast to the drug-induced, largely incoherent ramblings of Mr. Limbaugh. Bottom line, read the book if you want to comprehend the otherwise incomprehensible, but try to borrow it so Miss Coulter is not financially rewarded for her bigotry. So, slander sets out to highlight and educate the reader to the mistakes of the Democratic Party. Coulter believes the Democratic Party members, through use of name-calling and childlike behavior, lower themselves to making personal attacks. Interestingly enough, however, Coulter herself engages in name-calling. Often, I saw an interview with her yesterday where she said she was not a name-caller. That this is not name-calling. This is characterizing with nuance. Okay? So she'll immediately refute if you say, it's like my teenager, the sky is blue, no it's not. That kind of thing. So no, it's not name calling, it's characterizing with nuance. Coulter believes the Democratic Party members, through use of name calling and childlike behavior, lower themselves to making personal attacks, and then she's doing the same name calling, often reusing pet names throughout the chapters when describing opponents. She notes quite frequently of her beliefs that liberals control the media, therefore they wield a type of magic spell over the majority of the quote-unquote ignorant American. She's making millions of dollars in her books because of ignorance. So there's the ironies are just all over the place. Despite her apparent distaste for liberal snobbery, she herself comes off as quite condescending. I think that's the understatement of the century. Even into the last paragraphs, when she declares liberals are narrow-minded and parochial, incapable of seeing the other fellow's point of view, I do not recommend this book, especially for purchase. If you must read it, do yourself a favor and borrow it from a library. Don't want to give money to that woman. That woman. That woman is a dangerous woman. don't waste your time with this book. It's really the worst book I've ever seen. It's poorly written, poorly researched, completely biased. And please go and see an English instructor and learn about run-on sentences. Positive reviews supporting this book claim the reader has misunderstood the book's intention. Apparently, we took this seriously. We need to look and see what it was meant to be humorous. What was meant to be humorous. Again, she can just say, well, I was just joking. Hey, you guys are too serious. I was just joking. Kind of reminds me of the schoolyard bully, if you ask me. So if you're looking for humor and immature viewpoints on America's political problems, this book is for you. So there she is, a bully. Everybody should know it. Ann Coulter. Dangerous, dangerous. Dangerous, dangerous. Beware of the Coulter machine. Beware.